What's going on, guys? Today we're going to talk about the VA appraisal. Now, in the past, we've done videos of talking about what happens during that process, but let's talk about it from before you even purchase a property, kind of go through that pre-approval process. And a lot of questions have been coming up lately, like what if the property doesn't appraise? What if I have issues with the property? What are my options? And those are good questions you should have, because a lot of things go into the home buying process. And if you guys don't know, I am a loan officer and can help you use the VA home loan and purchase a property. You could schedule a call with me down in the description below and get all this information that I provide to you guys as a whole, to you individually. So let's jump into it. So big concern is for most people is, what if the appraisal comes in low? Because there's so much I would say there's still a lot of negative content around VA home loans within the real estate community. And the number one thing that I get from listing agents is, hey, the appraisal process is much tighter and values come in lower. And my experience with that is that's definitely not the case. And if values do come in so slightly lower or lower, that's because appraisers can't get the appraised value. Now, one thing you have going for you with a VA home loan, because it's amazing, is the VA escape/amendatory clause. Now, what this clause lets you do is you sign off on it with your home loan application. Sometimes they're included within sales contracts, and sellers will then sign off on it. And essentially what it says is that if the property doesn't appraise for your purchase price, and you don't come to a negotiation, which I'm going to go through some tactics, then you are able to get that earnest money back. Now, how easy you get that money back, that is a whole different conversation that you need to figure out with your either brokerage or the seller's brokerage, or if you have attorneys, title company involved, all of that's going to happen. Now, with that being said, let's take a step back and talk about what happens in this process of when you order the appraisal and what steps lie within that. So one question I get from folks is, do I call the VA to schedule the appraisal? So that is no. Once you go under contract on the property, all the loan disclosures have been sent out to you. You've signed everything. Loan officer signed everything. At that point, they may send you a payment link like we do that to say, hey, look, we need to pay a third-party appraiser, because the VA doesn't have, they have on-staff appraisers, but appraisers that go out and appraise properties are going to be third-party certified vendors that can issue appraisals for the VA, right? So they still do other types of appraisals like conventional and FHA. So keep that in mind in this process, right? So they're trying to look out for the best interest, right? So the lender orders the appraisal through the VA, then the VA puts it out in their open bidding platform, and then an appraiser will be assigned to that property. And then from there, they have X amount of business days to get that appraisal back to the lender, okay? So what happens in between that? The appraiser is going to get a copy of the sales contract, so they know what you are purchasing the property for. So let's say you're buying it for $400,000, and that's the purchase price. And that's what you go in their agreement on, okay? They know this. Why it's important is because the VA home loan is the only loan product out there, to my knowledge, that if the appraiser cannot meet the appraised value, they have to let the parties know. No one else does that. You just like cross your fingers and hope that, hey, it comes in at value. VA loan's different. They issue what's called Tidewater. They will notify the lender that, hey, the value may be coming in low, and then they need to reach out to the other buyers and sellers agent and let them know that, hey, they have issued a Tidewater and you need to provide X amount of comps that we need to submit to the appraiser. Now, if that appraiser uses or doesn't use those comps, they will note that on the appraisal, which you get after it's been issued. Now, there's consumers out there, and let me know if this happened to you guys, or this frustration or myth around the VA home loan appraisal process exists, because I'd love to hear from you. Because I know we see it all the time, but we're limited to how many people we talk to every day. But this is why we thank you guys for actually watching, subscribing, and sharing these videos. So let's say you also want, the lender should call the client, right, and say, hey, by the way, John, they did issue this. This is what we're doing to do that. Now, this shouldn't cause anxiety because transparency is key. If you were like, the appraisal doesn't come in low. So if you are a veteran and you're going through this process and you're like, hey, nobody told me, because that falls on the loan officer, maybe not even notifying the listing agent or buyer's agent when this happens. Now, what I've had happen in the past, which is extremely odd and totally against the veteran, is we've had Tidewater come up where we've told the clients, we've told the agent, and the agent just simply said, they just ignored it. And then the value comes in low. And we're like, we've told you that we needed this. And they're like, well, no one's ever requested this from you, so I didn't want to provide it. And so this is why you have to be very careful with the team you surround yourself with when it comes to this. Now, you have a couple options that, hey, ordered the appraisal, they've issued Tidewater, we provided the comps, they still came in low. What are your options? So a couple things are going to be here. One, the lender just can't send out another appraiser to say, hey, look, we're going to get a second opinion of value, in theory, okay? And I'm going to say why in theory in a second. So what happens is you will have to go through the reconsideration of value process. Now, once the appraiser issues the appraisal, now it goes back to the regional loan center. And so this happened to us not that long ago, where the appraiser clearly did an error on the appraisal, and they're like, we're not going to fix it. And I was blown away. But we talked to the regional loan center. We provided them the comps that they needed. And it's like a grid matrix. It's almost like what the appraiser does for the appraisal, but we have to provide that to the VA. And they did what's called a field review. So a staff appraiser for the VA looked at it, looked at the comps and said, yes, they're correct. We want to increase it. Now, they didn't increase it how much they wanted it to. So they were still short about $10,000 for the value. And this is where options come in. Either, right? And so what this, in this case, and I'll just actually continue with this case. The seller actually dropped that price $10,000. The VA did increase the purchase appraised value by a couple thousand. So they were happy with that and it all worked out at the end. Now, most of the time what I see happen is one of three things. One, the sellers just flat out don't agree. Like, hey, we're off by $5,000. We don't care. We're not dropping the price. And the veteran's like, I'm not going up in price. So deuces. They cancel the contract. Typically, then the veteran will get their earnest money back. The second thing is they'll say, well, look, we're short $5,000. You come up $5,000. We'll come up, you go up $2,500. We'll go down $2,500. Now, how this affects your 100% VA home loan is important to understand, because this is something that a lot of veterans are like, well, I just can't buy a home over the appraised value. That is not accurate in any way, and I see a lot of that mongering online. These are the facts. So if you're buying a place for $300,000 and you, let's say 310, let's make the numbers legal. 310, it comes in at 300. Seller's like, hey, I'll come down 5. You come up 5. You want this place. You know it's hard to find a place, and you absolutely love it. You're like, well, look, if I spend 2 months looking, I'm going to lose that money anyways. And the seller's thinking the same thing. So you can just basically do the 100% financing up to $300,000, and then you'll bring the $5,000 difference to closing plus any closing costs associated. So just know that's an option. The third way is that basically say, look, we're selling this. You wanted to buy it at 310, like this is an example. Then you got to have to buy it at 310. The veteran still has the option of walking away. Now, in competitive markets, I'll be very honest with you guys. We see people do types they put in guarantees like if the property appraises X amount short, the veteran basically says like, look, I'm good with it because they know the market. This isn't for everyone, but just know that this is a viable option for you guys to be able to do, right? So once you go past that reconsideration with the VA and they say, yes, it's a go, or no, it's a no-go, then you could take it from the regional loan center all the way up to DC to have it reconsidered. Now, I have only done that once, and it didn't do anything because they're just like, hey, we agree with the appraiser on this property. So just note that sometimes values are just overvalued based on what the appraisal process is. Now, it is very different, right? What you want to purchase a property for and what it appraises for. Two very, very different things. Because you may feel that this property is worth more to you because it's maybe fully renovated, other homes aren't. And so that's why you have to consider what that is. For some people, they're like, well, I'm not paying a penny over the appraised value. And that has nothing, that's just from a loan purpose perspective that people are looking at that. But, and that's also for the what you're purchasing the property for. So those are things that you need to consider when you go through this process. And it's also about availability of properties. Now, as time has gone on, we've seen inventories both increase and decrease, right? So no matter where you're at in that process, it's all about where you are in your financial situation for you to become a homeowner or not. Please, guys, make sure you guys share the video, like it, drop a comment below so we can get the algorithm to recognize it and get this out to other veterans out there and help our veteran community. I'll catch you guys in the next video.